Well, good afternoon, YouTube. Apologies, it's been a while since the last video. Not been very well, not had very good health recently, so I've been poorly for a good while. Got about another 2.5 weeks of bed rest to go, but I thought I wanted to get this video out to you because this is one of the later knives that I bought a few more recently, but it's so good and it's such good value for money. I'm not sure how many other videos are out there about it yet, so I thought I would get this one done and out to you. So this is a collaboration between Heine Haynes. Most people will know it's one of the biggest knife distributors in this country, and I'm in the UK. So it's a collaboration between them and Real Steel. Real Steel are a knife manufacturer that I like. They tend to offer very good knives, great walk and talk, good value for money. Most famous probably being the Real Steel Luna over here. And I also really like the G-Slip, slightly longer, a bit more expensive version. But both great knives for the money. So this is a collaboration between Heine and Real Steel, as you can see with the logos. You've got the Heine logo on the blade, Real Steel at the bottom. This is based on a traditional pattern, a Barlow pattern. A lot of you will know. I won't go to the history of Barlow so much, but you can generally identify a Barlow by the teardrop shape, and they usually have a bolster which is roughly 1/3 of the length of the handle. Not all of them are exactly 1/3. You can have a discussion about that, but this is basically a traditional pattern with modern materials. The handle is titanium, which is very unusual and nice to see. It's lovely, it's really nicely finished. It is, for me, I won't measure it exactly, it's about a 4-finger knife, perfect for my size for an everyday carry in this country. Obviously, like most of the knives that I review, it's a slip joint, nicely finished. I really like this polished back spring. Does add something to it, gives it a look, makes it look a bit more expensive. You have this faux line for where the bolster would usually be in a Barlow pattern. Most of the screws are recessed, you can't feel them. The only one that you can, which sits proud, is this one here, which I think holds the back spring in. But the tops of the screws are nicely finished, rounded over, so it doesn't make it uncomfortable. Looking at the back spring, you can tell it's been well put together by the meet-up between the back spring and the base of the blade, which is something worth paying attention to with slip joints. The other thing that you can usually identify, this doesn't have a half stop as much, I would say it's more of a third, and the back spring sits roughly level. It is a little bit proud at that half stop, but nothing major. Obviously it's flat when it's fully open and it's flat when it's closed. The centering is perfect on this, and it has a really nice walk and talk, really crisp and clean. This came very clean inside, no muck or anything getting in the way of that mechanism. It's not a particularly heavy back spring. I'd say it's probably 5, but perfectly adequate. I did try putting a one-hand opening thumb stud on this. It works fine, although it does look a little bit odd and detracts from its look slightly. The blade itself, obviously sub 3 inches. They offer it 3 different versions. So they have the sheep's foot, which is what this is, with the flat cutting edge, quite pronounced curve at the front, like a sheep's hoof, hence the name. They do a clip point version as well, and a spear point. So they've got 3 options, all titanium handle, identical handle, just different blade shapes. And these come in, which I think is one of the best bits, at £75. The blade steel is Bowler N690. And when I put the photos of this on Facebook, that was one of the comments that I received. Somebody said, well, if I'm going to pay for titanium scales, why can't I have S35VN or M390, the even higher end stainless steel. Well, I guess because of price. But that said, Bowler N690 is not a budget steel, although new ones are coming out all the time, so the existing ones get pushed further and further down the field. That kind of thinking is generally pushed by people trying to sell new knives, or reviewers that have spent a fortune on the latest super steels and are justifying it. I'm sorry, but that tends to be the reality. If you look on the Heine Haynes site, N690 is described as a high-end steel. It's got good edge retention, not as much as M390, but it's a bit like saying your car can do 250 miles an hour instead of 200 miles an hour. So why would you want the one that could do 200 miles an hour? Well, because you're probably never going to go over 100 miles an hour on a 70 mile an hour limit, if that makes any sense to people. So some comparisons. Value for money. It's about the same price or very similar price as the Kaiser Zip Slip. This version comes with Bowler N690. Really like this steel. It's easy enough to sharpen. It's got good edge retention. It's stainless. It has all the things that I want in a pocket knife steel. What are we actually using these knives for? But you've obviously got G10 on this, as opposed to the titanium that you get on this knife. So I think in that respect, it represents good value for money. If you did want the ultimate super steels in everything, then there's plenty of options out there. You could go for something like the MKM Selena M390 titanium, but this will set you back, as most of them will, around £130 over here, as opposed to the 75 that they're asking for that. And I don't see any, this doesn't look any cheaper than this to me. I think they've done a really good job at getting high-end materials out for a reasonable price. And not only that, it's put together really, really well. So a cracking job. Another alternative. The guy said wanted S35 VN. Well, there's another option. S35 VN titanium and the Best Tech Junsey, but that's £170. It's £100 more expensive than this. And I don't think that you would feel that you're lacking anything carrying this day to day as a pocket knife, because really, this is a small pocket knife. It's a slip joint for everyday tasks. Most people are using their knives to open boxes, open packages, maybe cutting a bit of fruit, bit of cord or whatever. You're not going to be cutting carpet with this all day long, where that difference in edge retention between the different super steels is really going to make a difference. Particularly if you collect loads of lift knives and you have a large rotation that you change out every day. I won't end up sharpening this for months and months because it only gets picked up perhaps once a week. So I think we're starting to get a little bit insane with knife steels, although I'm guilty of it. I like collecting different steels. I like seeing what their properties are, how they fare and what have you. When people start talking about this kind of category like N690, VG10, which for a long time was used in top end chef's knives, even D2. D2 is everywhere now. It's obviously become much cheaper, and they almost get described by some people as budget steels. Well, they're not budget steels in the sense that I grew up with, like cheap Chinese unnamed steels that blunted the first time you used them. These have been high-end steels. They're no less capable just because the latest and greatest super steel has come out and forced it one down in the pecking order. But they can be picked up for very reasonable prices now because you're not buying the latest and greatest of everything. They've been around for a while. So this kind of category of steels is one of my favourite. It does everything I need in an everyday carry knife and more. Yes, I like having some of the latest and greatest, but I can't say that I actually need it. So anyway, back to this one. Really impressed with what they've done. They've given you variety, 3 different options. It's really well executed. It's nicely put together. Lovely walk and talk. Everything that you need in a pocket knife. You know, if the Barlow N690 puts you off, I would say, well, you could spend a couple of £100 on a GEC and you get a basic carbon steel. Not criticising that, it's worked for hundreds of years. You know, and people got by just fine with that, without the stainless properties and what have you. But look at custom knives. At the moment, I was looking at some MDK custom knives on Kongi's Knife Sales the other day. Beautiful knives, £300, £275, £350. They're using Barlow N690, the same as this. You can pick this up for £75. Titanium, the same steel that they're using on these £300 customs, nicely put together by a company that knows what they're doing. I think Heine have done a cracking job with this, particularly with the value for money. They've not tried to, you know, get as much money out of people as possible for it. I think it's very reasonably priced. It's just a beautiful, lovely knife. And I really like this idea of using modern materials in traditional patterns. Been saying this for a while. I can't understand why people haven't been doing that with some of the traditional patterns. And then Heine come out and do it. So I'm really excited to see what they do in the future with other options. So apologies again for the people you know, that have joined the channel recently. I've not put out a video for a while. Good reason. As soon as my health improves, I will try and get some more out. Just to tack on to that, I would say, you know, we're up there now. We're about 75 subscribers. But that's with quite a few videos. So I was giving this some thought. I've still got quite a few knives to review, but I don't buy knives for the channel to review. I just review ones that I buy for myself. Anecdotally, I created a video about a year ago, air rifle tuning, because I was big into that spring piston air rifle tuning. I was showing all the custom titanium internals, what have you, different versions. That was on my personal channel. That's received like 275 subscribers just for the one video, and yet we're on about 75 for God knows how many videos I've put up now on knife reviews. So let me know what you think. Once I've reviewed the knives that I've bought at the moment, should I wind the channel up or should I keep going? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what you think. Obviously there's loads of knife reviewers out there now. There's some big personalities. Maybe there's not room for more little old me's. So I hope this knife review has been useful to somebody. If you're thinking about getting one of these, I would say go out and get it. I can't find any fault with this, to be honest. You know, you could complain that, you know, it's only a 5 on the back spring if you like a tighter thing. If you only buy knives in the latest, greatest super steel, then perhaps you'd be disappointed that it's N690 instead of M390. But other than that, I think these are cracking knives, really good. So I hope that's useful, and I will get another video out to you soon. Take care all, and I hope you're having fun. Ta-ta.